¿Funciona?
Okay.
¿Aló?
Please. Yeah. Okay. I will stay here. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. You can sit. Okay. Good morning, everyone. You want to sit or?
Yes.
Can you put the slide on this one? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to be here and online for joining us today at the Science for Climate Action Pavilion. My name is Cécile Sabourois. I'm professor of marine biology at Université Côte d'Azur and will be your moderator this morning for this panel entitled the slide. Innovation, Digitalisation and Climate Change, the Space to Conquer. As the effects of climate change becoming more apparent, innovation is expected to play a major role in enabling national and subnational decarbonization processes. In addition to technological process, addressing global challenges through innovation also involves organizational, social and economic changes. This panel will discuss these challenges with a particular focus on the urgency of accelerating the processes of scientific and technological development and the uptake of new technologies by industry. It's my immense pleasure to give the floor to Francisca Cortés Solari, Executive President of Philanthropy Cortés Solari. Francisca is an entrepreneur, environmentalist and philanthropist who had dedicated her life to integral and sustainable development initiatives in Chile and around the world. With an extensive personal and family background in the world of design and retail, in 2002 she founded Philanthropy Cortés Solari, a philanthropic project that promotes integral and sustainable development through integral education, climate change mitigation and biodiversity conservation. For more than 20 years now, Philanthropy Cortés Solari has been working on integral education programs focused on the educational community in Chile and Latin America, with an experiential character and in connection with nature, reaching more than 7,000 young people and teachers each year. Francisca has been an outstanding promoter of climate change mitigation and biodiversity conservation in Latin America through scientific research, environmental education and outreach projects developed by the Mary Foundation, part of Philanthropy Cortés Solari. Of particular note are projects related to the research and conservation of cetaceans, condors and flamingos, as well as the organization of regional climate change conferences and co-organization of the Science for Climate Action Pavilion at the Conference of the Parties, which aims to support the dissemination of science in environmental decision-making. From 2024, Francisca is a new member of IUCN's 15 Patrons of Nature that brings together the world's leading conservation leaders to mobilize resources and technical capacity and strengthens IUCN's management and vision for conservation. Francisca, over to you.
Hola, gracias. Bueno, seguro que mi discurso va a ser más corto que mi presentación, de todas maneras.
I'm sure that my speech is going to be shorter than the presentation.
Bueno, primero que nada, muchas gracias a los panelistas que también tenemos por streaming.
panelists
También
that are
tenemos uno de los
present who's
panelistas
training.
que trabaja en Fundación
One of
Caserta,
these
en el
panelists
equipo de
work in
medición de
Caserta
impacto,
Foundation
con
that
un gran
work in
desafío.
evaluations and
Nosotros
impact
creemos
studies.
que tenemos como educadores que estamos en el medio,
We believe
necesitamos
that we
ir a la
have a lot of
vanguardia. Nos costó
formator and
mucho tal vez
teachers.
tomar la decisión de que igual tendríamos que integrar la innovación y la
We took
tecnología
time
dentro
to
del
take
aula,
the decision to incorporate innovation
pero entendemos
in
que
technologies for teaching.
después del COVID
But we
eso fue un gran
understood after the
paso,
COVID that it was absolutely necessary after the COVID.
y hoy día con IA, ya con la inteligencia
And today
artificial,
with
no nos podemos quedar
artificial
atrás.
intelligence, we understand that we cannot
Por lo tanto, la innovación, la
be
creatividad y la
outside.
tecnología,
And the development of
tenemos que ir
creativity,
viendo y
innovation and
buscando
technology needs to be
soluciones
incorporated.
que sean soluciones efectivas en el fondo en cuanto a lo que queremos mostrar en esas aplicaciones,
Those solutions has to be effective
porque sabemos que
the
también tienen
applications that
sus
we want to
amenazas
develop,
las
because we
aplicaciones.
also have threat.
Entonces ha sido un
in those
desafío
applications.
muy grande de crear una
So it has
aplicación
been a
y de
challenge
que
to
pudiera
develop an application
no dispararse hacia cualquier dirección en el fondo. Sabemos que
that
la
really
tecnología hoy en día
follow the
estamos
purpose
todavía
that we
en
want.
vanguardia, pero yo diría que estamos muy adentro en cuanto a todo lo que es
So
la
we have
inteligencia
developed,
artificial. Y creo que bueno,
application that
es
is really
importante empezar a
interesting,
poner la conversación
and
de
we
la
need to
innovación, de la
discuss about the
inteligencia
role of the
artificial
innovation
dentro
and the
de la
artificial
educación
intelligence in
para
the
buscar
education,
formas de cómo
to find
podemos
better
ayudar
ways
a los
to
docentes
help
o a los,
teachers
a los alumnos,
and
alumnas
students in
a
general.
poder desarrollarse de mejor manera. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your inspiring word, Francesca. And without delay, we will start our session with Professor Peter Higgins, who will advise us to be mindful of the history of innovation. Professor Peter Higgins is Chair of Outdoor Environmental and Sustainability Education at the School of Education at the University of Edinburgh. He was Director of the United Nations Recognized Center of Expertise in Education for Sustainable Development, Learning for Sustainability Scotland, from 2013 to 2024. His teaching and research is interdisciplinary and his publications span a diverse range of topics. He has held a number of government advisory roles and is currently a board member of the Scottish Government's Nature Advisory Agency, Nature Scot. He is the chair of its Scientific Advisory Committee and is a member of the UK Joint Nature Conservation Committee. Please, Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and thanks for this invitation to the second panel of the day here. And in particular, of all my commitments at COP29, this is the one that was probably most unexpected, because as you've heard, this is not really my field of expertise. I'm originally an environmental scientist, a physical scientist, and a freshwater biologist, but now my world is education. When I asked Patricia for guidance on how to approach this, she said, please respond to the following. What should a person like me, whatever that might mean, expect from innovation and digitalisation? What purpose should it serve? And also to consider the role of innovation and its benefits and hazards. These are wise and challenging questions which I believe we would all do well to consider. So what does all this mean to a person like me? Well, first I should say that this particular person comes from Scotland. Now, Scotland, you may know, was the place where the Industrial Revolution actually started. So back in 1770, a man by the name of James Watt invented the steam engine. What did he use for the steam engine but coal that we dug out of the ground? This was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. 100 years later, another Scot by the name of James Young distilled liquid paraffin from oil shales that we found in Scotland. Subsequently, we found ways, along with the Norwegians, to exploit deep sea marine oil deposits. So Scotland has been an innovator in all of the means of extracting fossil fuels that then led to the Industrial Revolution. So you would be forgiven for looking to Scotland to say, you caused this mess, you fix it. I'm not here to say that I can do that. But maybe there is a message in this, which is that these were all hailed as technological innovations at the time, which they undoubtedly were. However, the broader impacts and the consequences were not visible at the time and only became so subsequently. And now we refer to returning to or comparing our temperature to pre-industrial times. In other words, back before James Watt. So similarly, I argue we should be cautious about technological and digital innovations that are intended to reverse the unintended consequences of those of the Industrial Revolution. So here are a few thoughts that I try to keep in mind, and maybe they might be of some use. First of all, in terms of societal acceptance, I think it's important to realize that we're not well educated in the issues of innovation and digitalization. So not in a good position to evaluate and critique new technologies. So we, the public, if I consider myself as one of those, may see these as opportunities and we may see benefits, but also we're often left to question as to whether or not we have a voice. For example, a major wind turbine development is being built in the sea quite close to where I live in Scotland. And whilst I'm broadly in favour of this, I have to look more generally across my neighbours who feel that they are not able to have a voice, that actually the consultation was shallow and that it was going to be built anyway. And then from my role with Nature Scot on the Scientific Advisory Committee, I find myself involved in producing and evaluating research on the direct impacts on nature of wind turbines offshore and indeed fisheries and therefore fishermen's livelihoods. So it's complicated. Secondly, there are lots of unintended consequences I've just highlighted to technological developments, and some may do more harm than good, and we need to be careful to make sure that we balance one against the other. There are attractive new technologies like carbon capture and storage and biofuel, for example. I'm just picking a couple, but it's vital to resolve the technological issues that these result in, along with ethical issues. So, for example, with biofuels, growing appropriate crops for biofuels may well displace food crops, and particularly in places where food is more important. The cost and the benefits may well not be taken properly into consideration because we're able to pay money for the crop that produces the biofuel, but then not think about the food that's lost as a result. On carbon capture and storage, the UK government's promised to invest 22 billion over coming years, but critics argue that the tech is not well developed. Now, I work very closely with specialists in this area, and they are brilliant and they are well-meaning. But of course, these are valid and viable criticisms. They would probably smile wryly at my argument that plants have been innovating for millions of years and are actually quite good at carbon capture and storage. Regarding digitalisation, there are many benefits, and clearly we've been experiencing these for decades now, and there are many more to come. There are strong advocates. For example, even UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme, is seeing ways of linking AI to the benefits for the Sustainable Development Goals, whilst others urge caution. However, it's clear that the use of AI will continue and will accelerate. Now, we're becoming increasingly aware that AI uses vast amounts of energy and water for cooling. Current predictions are that globally AI will use the equivalent energy consumption of Japan by 2016 and half the water usage of the United Kingdom by 2017. This has to come from somewhere. The energy and the water has to come from somewhere. And however you cut it, these have environmental, climate and broader sustainability costs, including for the communities where the data servers are going to be built. The tech giants of Microsoft and Google claimed a few years ago that they would be carbon neutral by 2030. And not just carbon neutral, I beg your pardon, but carbon negative. their forays into AI are already causing them to backtrack, and they're considering building small-scale local nuclear power generation facilities whilst hoping for the miracle of nuclear fusion. There are significant questions around all this, including who decided we should develop these technologies in the first place? Who agreed? What are the disbenefits and where will they be felt? To what degree are we subject to the whim of the market? These are all questions that are profoundly important as we move forward in these areas. Finally, I would just say this. I really believe it's hazardous to indulge in the wishful thinking that these innovations, as seductive and promising as they may be, allow us to delay phasing out the use of fossil fuels. That has to be the most urgent priority, and innovation and digitalisation will play its part as we move towards a more sustainable future. But we can't ignore the fact that we still do need to decarbonise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter, for this nice introduction and thoughts. Now I will give the floor to Mr. Monsef Ziani, who will present new approaches that should be adopted in the design and construction of large infrastructure in order to tackle climate change effects. Mr. Ziani is Vice President of FIDIC and CEO of CID, Conseil Ingénierie and Développement, a multidisciplinary engineering firm operating in civil engineering, buildings, transportation and hydraulic projects. Based in Morocco, CID is the largest Moroccan consulting company with a staff of 400 engineers and technicians operating in Africa, in the Middle East, and as well as in Albania. Mr. Ziani is also a member of the Moroccan Economic, Social and Environmental Council, CIS Morocco. Monsef, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me first say thank you to Mary Foundation for giving me this opportunity to participate to this panel. I would like first to warn you that my English will not be as good as my neighbors, and also reassure you that I will not make a technical speech, although my subject is relatively technical. I choose to share with you some ideas on how engineering infrastructure should change its approach in order to take into account climate change challenges. And why I choose to take this angle, this view angle, because engineering or engineers are the first professions that handle with infrastructure. They design the infrastructure, they supervise the construction of this infrastructure. And second reason is that I come from a continent, Africa, where there is a very big need of infrastructure. I can give you some figures. Let me just give you one. Not more than 30% of people have access to water. So there is a very big need of water facilities. I can give any other example. And when we want to construct new infrastructure, we should construct them at the beginning, able to handle with climate change effects. So as Cécile said, I was for a certain while Vice President of FIDIC, which is the federation, the International Federation of Consulting Engineers, and we asked ourselves during, I think, 2015, we asked ourselves how we should push all the consulting engineers to change their approach in order to take into account climate change challenges. And I would like to share with you eight key points that we have established and we shared with all the engineers around the world. The first one is to adopt a long-term analysis when we design infrastructure. If we adopting long-term analysis allow us to take into account future, actual, present, but also future climate change impacts. Second point is that we advised our consultant engineers, member of our federation, to target resilient solutions at the beginning. Why we did so? Because many studies showed that it costs more when you try to adapt an infrastructure later to the climate change effects than to design it at the beginning as resilient. I can give you one example to illustrate this idea. Is when you plan for a port. If you don't take into account at the beginning the sea level rise, it can be very difficult 50 or 60 or 100 years later to rise the level of the port. And while it is very easy to do it at the beginning and to add several centimeters or half meter at the beginning, at the start of the design. Third idea is taking into account change and introducing innovation in order to handle with climate change issues. Need to integrate in our teams many other specialists that we didn't use to integrate with in our teams. For example, sociologists, forecasters, hydrologists, etc. The fourth point is that when you want to design a resilient infrastructure able to face climate change issues, you need to have what we call regional digital climate change models. Of course, we have, for example, IPCC has its models, and it can give us some forecast on temperature, on rains, on sea level, etc. But in many situations, we need more precise models. So we have, let's say, advised that regional grouping of engineers establish regional models, regional digital models. 5 points is to improve the measurement networks in order to gather and use updated and reliable natural databases like temperature evolution, maritime data, sea level rise, for example, hydrological data, etc. And 6 points, 6 key points, is that introducing innovation in the design of infrastructure needs that everybody works together, not only engineers. We have more and more, we need more and more to work in synergy with architects, for example, with planners, in order to push them to introduce all the climate change issues at the start of all the designs. 7 points is as we as engineers, as consulting engineers, when we design an infrastructure, we do it for investors, for clients, public or private clients. So we should convince them that introducing climate change issues, introducing innovation to handle with all these issues is necessary, and they have to pay for it, and they have to pay a little more in order that the design can be resilient. And last key points I wanted to share with you is that designing, we are asked to design infrastructure, but more and more we are asked by our clients to help them to attract financing. to construct this. So it is a very big challenge. So more and more consulting engineers are performing in the way to advise clients to how to attract climate financing, which is not very easy, especially in Africa. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mansef, for these key take-home messages. And we will now move to Frank Martin Seifert from European Space Agency, who will explain us how update systematic observations enable global citizens to know and to act. Frank Martin Seifert has been working for the European Space Agency at its Earth Observation Center in Frascati, Italy since 2020 as Earth Observation Application Engineer. He has been ESA focal point for land and forest services from local to global scale for Copernicus and is active as ESA Climate Change Initiative with applications in the cryosphere and for biomass. He advocates at UN level for systematic Earth observation of our planet. Frank, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Cecile.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's not this presentation. You can start,
yeah.
I will.
I want to bring you, I'm looking on a satellite, many satellites, to understand better what is the situation of the Earth, how the planet is changing, how climate change is affecting all corners of our planet. Next one. And as a member of the we are taking the pulse of our planet. Next slide, please. What you see here are globes with different data layers. They are representing essential climate variables. Essential climate variables which have been identified by GCOS, the Global Climate Observing System, and in the cryosphere, over land, over the ocean, and in the atmosphere. We are about 50% of the 55 essential climate variables can be observed from space, and we are contributing to that. Next slide, please. Here you see this 27. It is, and they are based on systematic global climate observation. The long-term not in the sense of the development of the Earth, but in the development of space. So we can look back 30, 40, 50 years and see the dramatic changes within the Earth. Next, please. But how are these, this information is generated? Well, we're having 3 fleets of satellites related to science, related to meteorology, and with the European Union, we have established the Copernicus system. The Copernicus system is a fleet of satellites which are observing since 10 years, starting 10 years ago, the Earth in a systematic manner. Next, please. These are radar satellites, Sentinel-1, and the next one will be launched in 3 weeks' time. Sentinel-2 is a high-resolution optical sensor. Sentinel-3 gives medium-resolution information. 4 and 5 are related to the atmosphere. 6 looks at the ocean as an altimeter. And next, please. And we are going to expand these satellites. Towards the end of the decade, we will have CO2 mission, land surface temperature, measuring land surface temperature, having hyperspectral sensor in orbit, radar with a longer wavelength, and observing the cryosphere with radiometer and with an altimeter. And next one, please. We are as well developing further our first generation to make them to advance with respect to technology developments, their performance with respect to resolution, larger, more frequent observation, and so on. And the best of it, all these data are available free of charge, not only in Scotland, but as well in South America and in Morocco, all over the world. Each citizen can get information about his own environment or the environment where the person is concerned of. Next, please. With this, we are building a so-called Destiny platform together with ECWMF and EUMETSAT to make this vast amount of data. I'm talking there about 30 terabytes of data each day to make them available and convert these information into actionable information. Next, please. As well, and one of these things are digital twins of the Earth, where we are looking at specific questions related to our environment. I will show you now more concretely available information, how the thing from space goes down towards the citizen. Next, please. You see here on the left side long time series related to land surface temperature. In the middle, 2 years ago, during summer, south of England and specifically London, an urban heat island with a large temperature peak. This information is converted towards an alert system towards the citizen, where citizens with health problems are alerted that it's not good to go out now out of your house. Better stay in because it might harm us. Next one. But we are providing as well actionable information towards mandated organization. Here I give you an example of a near real-time deforestation alert system. There are many of those, and they provide quite accurate alerts on if there are disturbances in the forest. Next, please. And that is related to a faster detection and enabling reliable and concrete action towards it. What you see here is selective tree logging in the Central African Republic. It is observed by the radar satellite. Each week you get a new information, and the radar satellite looks through the clouds. So also in the tropics, where you have often cloud coverage, this information is available. What you see here is how the logging roads have been constructed, and from there onwards you see along the logging roads how the forest is disturbed. That can be normal forest management activity, but it can be as well illegal logging. The mandated authorities can use this information and act on it. Next, please. Another one related to small island states. We are all knowing about sea level. Here in Baku, they are more concerned that the level of the Caspian Sea is going down. In other words, parts of the world, the Pacific Islands, Maldives, Seychelles, and for them, the information on sea level rise in the 90s, then 3, and now we're having more than 4.5 millimeters is not a problem. Maybe at the Côte d'Azur you would still feel it, but people who are living on an atoll in Tuvalu, for them it is danger. So, coming back to the overall, these overall wealth of information is made available to the world citizens. It's a gift from out Europe as an information source about your environment. And we know that there's still a digital divide. We are working with these digital twins on supercomputing system which can be accessed as well from out Morocco, from out Africa. There are dedicated initiatives to make as well African citizens, to make them, enable them to access information and trigger the production of the information what they need. This is in innovation. This is a digital revolution, and we are and with the information given to the citizens, we are democratizing information flow. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Frank. We will now have online contributions. I don't know if the people are still already connected.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And to follow up, I will give the floor to Jan Sadadou. Jan is currently the head of international relations and communication at the Office for Climate Education, a UNESCO center based in Paris. At the Office for Climate Education, Jan works to bridge the gap between science and pedagogy and between policy and practice, while striving to connect and engage action levels between local and global levels.
Thank you so much. I had a presentation, but I will not use it anymore. I will just piggyback on some of the very interesting comments that were mentioned earlier. But first, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and of course, thank you to our partner, Filantropia Cortes Solari, for the invitation. There's 2 points that I think were very interesting that were made earlier, and I cannot see the room anymore for the technical people. But Mr. Higgins mentioned that the need for societal acceptance in order to have effective innovation is something real, and I fully agree with him. And Francisca earlier, she also mentioned the ravages caused by the COVID crisis in the education system. And in today's society, the school system is the one that is supposed to teach and train the next generations, the one that is supposed to provide them with the knowledge, the necessary knowledge to make them the conscious citizens that are able to understand the world around them, and therefore also have that high level of societal acceptance required to accept innovation. However, we know, sadly, that after 2 years of school closures due to COVID, we basically made a jump of about 20 years in the past in terms of school progress. A recent report actually from the World Bank estimated that about 70% of 10-year-olds today cannot read and understand a text appropriately. That is enormous. So we need to tackle that education gap and that education crisis in order to be able to innovate as a society first, but also second, to use innovation, to use all the tools that were recently presented by colleagues of the European Space Agency. Those are wonderful tools. But if our citizens don't know how to use them, then we do have an issue here. And in today's world, we're very tempted to try and solve these educational challenges with AI, with digitality. But also, as Francisca mentioned earlier, one needs to be careful. And that's why recently I am part of a network called the International Dialogue of STEM Education. We recently published a white paper that dispels some of the myths around the ongoing debate between digital media use and innovation within the climate education space. And within this paper, we provide evidence-based suggestions on how to integrate technologies for our future generations in order to enable them to navigate these technologies, but also to become the climate innovators of tomorrow that we really need. So I'm just going to go quickly over these 6 recommendations now as bullet points, and I can always share the paper later if there's some people interested in them. I believe these recommendations, of course, are made for the education system, but there's so many parallels with different climate sectors in society too, and that I think everyone could benefit from some of this, from some of these reflections, and some already overlap with what was shared earlier as well. But I think one of the main aspect is that digital tools are no demons, but they're also no saviors. All right. So digital tools and innovation must be used, but they must be used with a purpose. They must address a specific learning objective rather than just simply integrating technology because it's new. Technology for technology does not work. There are fears that technology, sometimes people say it can make us dumber, and there's a lot of hopes that it can make us smarter. But both are actually exaggerated, we found within our research. What matters actually is designing the use of technology based on evidence on what works. So educators should always evaluate the context, the access, and the potential outcomes before integrating digital tools into teaching to really make sure that this technology serves as a complement rather than a replacement for the foundational educational methods. The second recommendation is that pedagogy should go first, that learning goals should go over tech tools, basically. So effective education should prioritize pedagogy over that technology, and teachers here, and there are millions of them around the world, so this is also a very powerful lever for climate action. These teachers should play a pivotal role in adopting these instructional methods that combine, inquiry-based learning with clear guidance. So using the right pedagogical strategies, such as formative assessment and fostering metacognitive skills, in order to drive the use of these digital tools, to ensure that this technology supports meaningful learning experiences that really align not only with the students' needs, but also with the diverse cultural dynamics that are, different from a territory to territory. The third recommendation is that analog, digital, or hybrid, what counts is the quality of that interaction that you're going to have. So the focus should be on the quality of the learning interaction. All right? So digital tools can enhance the learning by making complex phenomena such as climate change visible, tangible. However, they should not replace the real-world exploration and that social interaction that we so desperately need and crave as humans. So by blending hands-on activities with digital supplements, for example, education can actually both foster curiosity and conceptual understanding of these complex topics that we need. The fourth recommendation is that nothing can just arrive like un cheveu sur la soupe, as we say in French, but the recommendation is that proper preparation is a must. So for technology to improve learning in the school system, but also within society, we need to prepare. So thoughtful preparation is essential. For the education world, this means that we need to include within the professional developments of teachers the instructions on how to use the digital and the innovative tools we're providing them. We need to ensure that they're equipped without feeling overburdened, right? Technology shouldn't be an added burden, it should be something that comes and assists. But next to that, there's also very real-world, tangible things that we need to prepare for, such as the lack of reliable infrastructure nowadays in education systems. So before we start talking about massive digitalization of education, we should also take a look at how we're going to make sure that we have reliable internet and reliable devices and that will prevent the digital exclusion. We don't want a society that goes into two different speeds or even three different speeds at the same time based on the digital divide that exists. So governments and organizations need to do that cost benefit assessment carefully to make sure that if we go for a full digital innovation approach, that approach also supports equity and high quality education. And the fifth recommendation is to empower digital literacy. So education must go beyond digital tools, and it must foster also computational literacy. Understand computational literacy to understand climate models, for example. We need to include skills that we need for climate challenges, like problem-solving skills, critical thinking, and also the development of empathy. We need digital literacy to encompass understanding of the algorithms, of data privacy, and the broader implications of technology and society and their environment. It's all of this that will ensure that we reach that societal level of acceptance necessary to push forward some of these innovations. And lastly, last recommendation that sounds very obvious, but it's worth reminding that we need to use evidence-based practice. So there's a lot of research within education already. There's a lot missing as well, but there's a few things we do know already. And educational strategies and digital tools, they must be grounded in a robust scientific evidence about what works and why it works. So this includes leveraging the insights we have already into cognition, into attention, into conceptual understanding, in order to guide the effective teaching practices. More research is, of course, needed to pinpoint exactly where and how digital technologies add value. But there is already a lot of robust science evidence on what actually works. And we shall not dismiss that. We can build upon that. And with this, I will conclude. I think I'm right on top of my 7 minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dan. So we have heard that we need to empower educators. Education is the foundation of the paradigm shift required to combat climate crisis. And last but not least, I will give the floor to Nicolas Fernandez, who is online. Okay? And Nicolas Fernandez is a psychologist with extensive experience in social projects focused on sustainability, education, and well-being. Currently, he leads the research department at Cotes Solari Philanthropy. Recently, he has taken on a leadership role in an artificial intelligence project, integrating technology into the fields of sustainability and education. Nicolas will present a case study, a digital tool using artificial intelligence to empower teachers. Nicolas, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here and for all the great presentations before me. I feel that my presentation will complement will have a narrative alongside with Dijan's presentation. Is my presentation correctly being shared?
Yes.
I think it is.
Yes.
Perfect. Second, all right. So, first and foremost, hello. I am deeply honored to be here in this important conference on climate change to talk about innovation in education with artificial intelligence. My name is Nicolas Fernandez, Director of Studies at Fundación Caserta, and as part of Filantropía Cotes Solari, we have spent more than 22 years working on education for sustainability and development in Chile, across various regions of the country, supporting teachers and students in learning about sustainability and climate change. Today, I want to share you to share with you how innovation and digitalisation are revolutionizing education in Latin America, empowering teachers to become leaders of change. This journey has not been linear. Before the pandemic, our programs were entirely in person, but the COVID pandemic confronted us with a crucial question. How can we continue supporting teachers in their fundamental role in sustainable development in such a rapidly changing context? It was at this critical moment that we decided to take a bold step into the digital space, seeing technology not only as a tool, but also as an opportunity to accelerate the necessary changes in education. Education is key to addressing the climate crisis. For over 20 years, Fundación Caserta has worked with teachers to support sustainable development. Virtual collaboration during the pandemic revealed critical challenges teachers face in Latin America. They have heavy workloads, lack of support, and difficulty adapting to the 21st century educational models. This affects their well-being and teaching quality. 70% feel unprepared to teach sustainability. 58 report high stress from administrative tasks. 35 lack time or meaningful lesson preparations. 60% feel untrained in using technology in education. 1 in 3 teachers say gaps in technology and educational harm their learning. And 1.5 million teachers deficit is projected by 2025 due to burnout. These challenges limit teachers' ability to lead the educational transformation needed to combat climate crisis. Throughout our history, we at Caserta Foundation have worked closely with teachers, and a key lesson we learned is that they are at the heart of the educational change. Without their well-being and support, progress is limited. This conviction led us to seek solutions that not only respond to their current needs, but also prepare them for the challenges of the future. This is how AINI, a virtual assistant powered by artificial intelligence, was born. AINI's neural network has been nurtured with the trajectory and content compiled in the 23 years of educational practice of Fundación Caserta, led by its president, Francisca Cortés Solari. For the creation of AINI, Francisca opened the trajectory of content collected and made it available to her team and allies seeking to accelerate the paradigm shift in education. Her educational team, led by Carolina Albornoz, director of Caserta Foundation, myself, and in collaboration with technology experts like Jorge Aldrovandi from Uruguay, Cristian Cortés from Chile, and José Martínez from Colombia are working to make this dream come true. AINI means reciprocity in Quechua language and symbolizes the support that this assistant will provide to the teachers. Its visual identity, inspired by nature in harmony with human beings, was taken from art created by Francisca's own family. This project represents a natural continuation of our commitment to teachers and responds to the urgent need for instruments that make their work more efficient and meaningful. AINI is not a generic tool. It is a custom-designed assistant for teachers with accessible knowledge and language and practical answers. It focuses on specific tasks that allow them to free up time and energy for what is most important, strengthening their bonds with students and delivering quality education. To ensure its effectiveness, we decided to pilot AINI in the 9th version of our program Profes in Red, a training space that has brought together more than 1,000 teachers from 12 countries on environmental education, technology, and sustainable development. This experience not only allowed us to evaluate the impact of AINI, but also to confirm its relevance in a context of online learning and regional collaboration. The creation of AINI represents a new chapter in the history of Caserta Foundation, uniting our experience in integral education with the power of technology. We do not seek to replace the work of teachers, but to empower them, supporting them in their role as leaders of change towards a more sustainable future. In the context of climate crisis, education must be able to respond quickly to the demands of the 21st century. This means that teachers must not only stay updated, but also be empowered with tools that enable them to address topics such as sustainability, technology, and critical thinking. To measure AINI's impact, we conducted a quantitative and qualitative evaluation during Province in Red. The results are encouraging. Teachers who felt prepared to handle AI increased from 59% to 79%. Those who said AI improved their professional well-being rose from 55 to 79%. The perception that AI brought them closer to a new educational model grew from 52 to 73. These results underline the importance of having accessible tools designed specifically for educational needs, tools that empower teachers while positively impacting educational quality. Now, I will share a short testimony of one of our dear teachers that tested AINI in Profes in Red program.
¿Qué tal? Soy Osvaldo Díaz de Lima, Perú. Soy periodista y docente de lengua y de literatura. Agradezco a Fundación Caserta el haberme dado la oportunidad de participar del programa de Profes en Red. La educación está en crisis y por eso postulé. Y he salido muy contento de haber conocido el programa de desarrollo integral y educación socioemocional para docentes que finalmente redunda en toda la comunidad educativa. Con todo lo aprendido y compartido con mi mentora y los demás profesores de América Latina, me voy confiado, esperanzado y seguro de promover este cambio. Sí se puede. Asimismo, he podido conocer la plataforma de inteligencia artificial AINI, desarrollada por Fundación Caserta para nosotros, los docentes. Yo la he utilizado para generar algunas sesiones y ejercicios de clase y AINI realizó actividades lúdicas, creativas y alternativas que mejoraron la relación en el aula. ¿Y qué he ganado yo con esto? He ganado tiempo para poder seguir preparándome y para trabajar los temas que he conocido de educación socioemocional que finalmente me sirven para guiar y acompañar a mis estudiantes. Muchas gracias.
So, artificial intelligence plays a crucial role in transforming education and equipping teachers to face current and future challenges. We invite everyone to consider the responsible, inclusive, and ethical use of AI in education, particularly in areas that promote sustainability development and critical thinking. When designed and used correctly, AI can free teachers from routine tasks and provide them with tools that they need to inspire and educate the next generations to tackle climate change. Education is the foundation of sustainable future. With tools like AINI, we are equipping our teachers to lead the way towards the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicolas. So I'm afraid we are running out of time because we are very late. Before we close, let's give a big warm round of applause to all our wonderful panelists today. And if you have questions, you can just reach our panelists to ask your question. Thank you very much. And a big thanks to Francesca and Philanthropic Hôtel Solari Foundation. Thank you.
Gracias, Nicolás.
Muchas gracias a ti, Jan. Excelente presentación.
Gracias, igual.